folded book, you will of course need a book. You will need a ruler that has centimeters. Everyone who attends in person will be going home with their very own paper ruler. You also need the pattern, and a pencil, and that is all the supplies that you need to make a folded book. The way that you read the pattern, and this is several pages long, but don't let that worry you. So the way that you read the pattern is measuring down from the top on page 1, or leaf 1 actually. You would make a mark of 5.3 millimeters and another at 6.7. On page 2, it will be 4.7, 7.3, and so on, all the way until you get to your last page. Now this pattern requires 177 pages, which means that my book needs to have a page count of twice that. In a book, we have page 17 and page 18 on the same sheet of paper. This only counts as one page. So when we have a pattern that calls for 177 sheets of paper, we really need about a 400-page book in order to do it properly. So to calculate, we want to find the first numbered page, which in this case is 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, not counting this page. Alright, so that makes it easy. And then at the end, we get to our last numbered page. And actually, it keeps numbering the bibliography rather. So our last numbered page, not counting the thicker page at the end, is 416. So 416 divided by 2 will give us the number of available sheets of paper. And then we just have to subtract out our 177, and that's how we will know where to start the book. Alright, so here is our math. There are 416 pages available in this book. That is counting front and back every piece of paper from the end all the way to the very beginning. So we have 416 divided by 2 is 208. So there are 416 pages, but only 208 actual pieces of paper, because this one piece of paper is actually 2 pages. So we have our number of actual sheets of paper in the book. Now our pattern calls for 177 sheets of paper. The 208 sheets of paper that we have in the book minus what the pattern calls for means we have 31 pages or 31 sheets more than we need. 31 divided by 2, because we want our design to be centered, equals 15 and a half. So we will have 15 pages in the beginning of the book that are unfolded and 16 pages in the end of the book that are unfolded. Or you could do 16 in the front. It is your choice. So you open your book. Remember, we're not counting the cardstock type one in the front. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. And you can see that even though we're 15 sheets, we are on page 30, basically. So all of these pages, I'm just gonna kind of tuck them into the book jacket, which we don't even need. So we'll be taking the book jacket off later. Now our pattern, if you recall, says 5.3 and 6.7. So that is centimeters and millimeters. Taking the millimeter side of your ruler, or even the paper ruler, if that is what you are using, all you have to do is measure down this number and put a little mark. Then measure down again until you get to that number, always measuring from the top, and that will give you the marks on where to fold your first page. So lining up the top of the ruler at the top of the page, I want 5 centimeters and 3 millimeters. So 1, 2, 3. And I put a little mark. And then still counting from the top, I want one at 6.7. So here's 0.5, 6, 7. Now, you can either go through and mark all of your pages. So the next page would be, again, starting from the top, 4.5, 6, 7, and 7.3. And it is important to mark off when you have finished a page, because otherwise you'll have to go and count to see where you are. Now, if you have a wooden ruler, you can use your ruler as a straight edge. If you don't, you can just eyeball it. So to use your ruler as a straight edge, you would line your ruler up and pull your page corner until you get to your ruler and put a crease. This is only something you should do when you are book folding. Never do that to a library book because it will eventually tear. And then line my ruler up on my bottom line, and this time I am pulling the bottom page up. Now you can see that the page does not, to get it all the way up to my line, it's a little bit running into things and it's not quite a right angle. So I'm going to put my crease and then I'm going to fold back where it overlaps in the spine and just put a second crease. So now I have folded down to my top mark and up to my bottom mark. If you don't have a ruler, I used my fingernail. So I just did that right up against my nail. Or you can just use your eyes. And there's my mark. Folding my paper, and again, I have a little bit of excess, so I'm just going to fold it back. And an optional piece of gear would be a elastic headband or large rubber band, just to keep what you are working on all nice and out of your way. So to review, because that's really pretty much all there is to it. Measure from the top and do 4.3 and 7, 5, 6, and 8. And I can go through, mark off the one that I did, and in quick succession mark all of my pages and then go back through and fold them or mark and fold as I go. So I folded from the top corner down to the top corner of my mark, and then folding the bottom corner up to my other mark with a little bit of a turn back so that it fits in the crease. Now, even with just the few pages that we've already completed, you can kind of see that we are working on the cat's tail. So these 3 sections here are this section here. All right. Here is a bat example, and you can see that you can see the pattern pretty quickly. You can even kind of tell here, or I can tell where I messed up and must have measured wrong, but it doesn't really change the overall pattern. The fun thing about these patterns is the way that details like here and here are, is it alternates pages. So here's the wing, here's the ear, here's the wing, here's the ear. And it continues like that, getting a more finished look by changing the direction of your folds. So you can see that I have all of my back folds towards the back cover and all of my front folds towards the front cover. I have my few pages that I skipped in the beginning and the few pages I skipped at the end. And what I did was that middle sheet, I was putting all of my marks on this side right up until I got to that middle one. And then instead of marking this page on this side, I skipped over and marked it on the other side. So right in the middle of my pattern, my folds change to the other direction, but it all comes together. Alright, so the midpoint of my pattern, 177 divided by 2, would be 88.5. Oh, there it is. So 88.5, I'm just going to draw a big underline right here. And what I did in my sample is I marked on and folded all of my pages from the beginning of the pattern towards this cover. And when I got to my midpoint, I flipped the book over and still working from, let's see here, still working from the middle of the book, started drawing my lines and folding them towards this cover. And I thought that just made a nice, neat finish.